about having a home birth and don't know where to start, this video is for you. So in today's video, I'm going to have my midwife visit. So she's going to be our special guest. I have Kamitra here with me, and this is my midwife. And Kamitra, tell the people a little bit more about what a midwife is, because a lot of people are a little nervous about deciding on doing a home birth versus a hospital birth, because I think they almost consider y'all like doulas.
I was a nurse for 10 years before I became a midwife. With midwives, a lot of times people only think about like birth. And so we do a lot more than just birth. We can take care of adolescents. We can take care of the newborns up to 28 days. We can take care of the whole like well woman up until like menopause and past. And so then also with that comes birth. With a midwife, though, it's several different types of avenues that you can go about to become a midwife. Like, so for everybody that is at Choices, we are all certified nurse midwives. So a certified nurse midwives mean that we are nurses before we were a midwife. In order for you to do it, you have to be a registered nurse. And I worked on the floor in labor and delivery and high-risk OB in the clinic and maternal fetal medicine office. I have a lot of different kind of critical care experience, but all of us at Choices are amazing. And all of us are certified nurse midwives. Now, it's different avenues that you can go through. You don't have to like work on the floor first. You can become a nurse, you know, and go, your program could go straight through like nursing school to midwifery school. Some of our midwives that are at Choices, they did the same thing. But you can also get like a degree in another, like say it's like science or English, and you want to take that degree and go to midwifery school. You can in certain schools.
With me, I don't know, like compared to other people, I felt like I was showing a lot of pain, but then y'all were like, no, you were good, you were quiet, you were quick, and I was like, wait, what?
Well, you gotta also understand, like when you're going through this journey, it's not, pain is whatever you say it is. That's for one. It's whatever you perceive it to be. But when you're going through this journey, we try to prepare your mind. It's a mental component, you know, that you can kind of do this thing versus like, oh my God, these contractions are killing me. We don't want anybody in our care that feels like they're suffering. Yeah. Like if you feel like you're suffering, then you gotta go to the hospital. Yeah, because for one, you'll never dilate.
Yeah, very tense.
And your adrenaline before time, all those things that we talked about. So you'll never dilate like that.
How do you guys decide which patients to take on? Because a lot of y'all was asking me in the comments, so what if you hemorrhage? What if, you know, you need an emergency C-section? What if the baby is breech? What if all of these things? And you have to think about the beginning state before we even get to the labor and delivery part. So with a midwife, they have to accept you as a patient first. Right. So what does that process look, and how do you decide which patients you want to
So as far as you have to be low risk, right? Like you cannot be high risk. It's certain things that will automatically exclude you. Like if you've had more than one cesarean section, if you had a C-section and we have what we call a T incision on your uterus. And so a lot of times people are like, well, I only had one C-section, but we have to know what kind of scar is on your uterus, which could be different than what you see on your top layer of your skin. So if you have a T incision on your uterus, that's an automatic no. Sometimes we do not like body shaming and different things like that, but also safety is a big thing. So we look at BMI as a risk factor. Okay. We look at if you have like any chronic illnesses like high blood pressure, so chronic hypertension, on medications.
I think even with the BMI, that goes with a whole bunch of factors. So even like if someone wanted a surgery, a cosmetic surgery, they have to take that into consideration. Like you have to lose a certain amount of weight before you can get to that point. So with that being said, for someone who is overweight, could they lose weight first or get to a certain BMI and then
Right, they could. Okay. Yeah, they could. And that is all about like preconception counseling, right? Okay. Because and a lot of times in our culture, we don't do preconception counseling. So by the time you figure out you're pregnant, it's like, okay, well, what I'm supposed to do now? But it's a process of like getting your body and making sure that you're healthy before we get pregnant. And so that is one of the things that we kind of talk about, diet and exercise. But I want to be very clear, we do not do like body shaming or anything like that. We take in like what actually you kind of look like. Also, you got to think about too, like if you do have the hemorrhage at the end and you passed out, lifting, we have to be able to, you know.
I had my baby at home. It was 2 midwives, 2 assistants. So that can vary, right?
Right.
So it can be in.
And that was only because you were at home.
Gotcha.
At the birth center, we have 1 midwife and 1 birth assistant. And so if somebody go down, you know, and we can't lift you, we have to call 911. Like if you've had a home birth before, we know that your body can do it, right? And so we look at like other risk factors that go along with it. Like I said, like when we have a higher BMI, we look at other comorbidities like hypertension, diabetes, what is your cholesterol, you know, like we have a thyroid problem, those type of things, PCOS. So
that's
things
a whole
that
bunch
kind
of
of
stuff.
factor into that.
Meet your own call, y'all. So that's why we're gonna take a few breaks, but it's nothing wrong with it. So no, go. We finally got Nova after camera who gave us some snacks. Go over there. I did not want to eat, but I was encouraged to eat.
Right.
What was the reason why? Because I know in the hospitals they typically don't let you eat.
Right. And so again, it goes back to low risk, right? And so when you go to a hospital, you get an IV, you get sugar water through your IV, and that's giving you energy. In order to do this thing, you have to have energy. We naturally get energy from food.
And that's what I was telling, like, with my degree, I'm in exercise sports science, so we've had to learn that ATP comes from food, and that's an energy source. And so that's what I wanted to know, like, okay, like, I feel like that was a good idea to have a mom eat prior, because you'll be so fatigued.
Right.
And like, how I have the energy to push if I'm hungry.
Right. And you have peanut butter and jelly.
Right. And I need something to stick to me. One of the items on the birth preference, because if y'all want to see how we did that video, well, how I did that video, I went through my birth preference and my supply list, because she gave me that around 33 weeks. I actually have a YouTube short, and I have it on TikTok and Instagram, so y'all can just refer back to that video. What is the purpose of the baking sheet?
With a birth preference, it's different from a birth plan, right?
Okay.
I like to start by saying that too, just because it used to, you know, we can have a lot of birth trauma. You know,
Yes.
When things don't go as planned. But also, like in midwifery, we have a spiritual component that goes along with it. So I got a plan, you got a plan, baby got a plan, and God got a know. That term plan is just like so definite, right? And we just need to understand that plans can change. And so not holding yourself like to this plan is what I like. And so we changed it to preference.
Gotcha.
Just because, you know, you might prefer this, but that might not be the best thing for us right now. You prefer to be in the water, but maybe you have, you know, a little bit thicker meconium.
Yeah, I thought I wanted to be.
Yeah, you thought you want to be in the water, but sometimes that water is hot. Right? And you already hot. You're like, I don't want this on me.
Yeah. Like,
You're like, no, I don't want to be in the water. But when we do home births, not all midwives have like a CPR tray.
Gotcha.
And so, me personally, I come with a CPR tray, but on the list it's just standard for us to have like a baking sheet on it, because it gives a firm surface to if you needed to resuscitate, you know, the baby. And you can be able to do compressions or breaths, so breathing for the baby if we need to. Okay. But we come with all of that stuff. And so just like, you know, CPR certified, we are NRP certified, which is neonatal resuscitation. All of us. And instead of like doing it every 2 years, like recommended,
I was
we
gonna
do
say
ours yearly. I'm just making sure that we have all of our techniques together for out of hospital. In the hospital, you have a team. But we are your full, complete team.
One of the things that stood out to me that you did have an oxygen tank.
I have two.
So, and I'm pretty sure you probably had different size masses versus mom and baby. So, in case of having that type of emergency where we needed, you know, CPR, you wanted to make sure that it was both accessible, your equipment and the baking sheet, just in case.
And everything is in order. So if I move, like if you move to a different place, then all of my equipment move with you. So it's not like scrambled. Also, like when we come with our team, everybody have a role, right? Everybody knows exactly what they're doing. So it's not like you doing this and I'm doing the same thing, you know. It's very organized. And then also, if you remember when we come to your home. So if you're going to do a home birth, We come to your home and
prior to even, and see, and that's the thing too. So after, and I forgot to mention that on the video, when I stocked the pantry or I stocked the extra closet with all of the birth supplies, she had to come to the house and see where it's at, because it was one of those things where we don't want to go into labor
and I don't know,
and you don't know, and
right.
she can't ask me instead of asking everyone, let me see it first, let's take some photos so I can, you know, have a visual aspect of it, share it with the team in case they weren't able to come,
right.
So everybody be on the same accord.
Right,
I love it, because that was one thing where I was kind of nervous about, like, even calling y'all in time. And I feel like I got a pretty high pain tolerance. And so that's what another factor that came into making me want to, or convincing me to have a home birth. In case you have someone that is, because a lot of y'all was asking about pain and how you would have instantly went to the hospital just to get y'all medication. So with that being said, what kind of pain, I guess, natural ways or medicated ways that you can administrate for a home birth?
So again, it goes back to prepping your mind and prepping our bodies.
I do think it's more mental.
Yes, for this natural approach, because we don't have pain medicine, right? We have our natural endorphins that gives us like our pain medicine and gives us the ability to be able to get through the surges or waves that you experience.
And they never talked about this in the hospital. Like, when I had 3 pregnancies prior and 3 babies prior, they never talked about that. They never gave me like those, like, different hormones, do this, doing this process. After our appointments, you had those conversations with us and told us like what to expect, and then we have these certain hormones that are released during the time of, you know, stage 1 all the way up to the point where we're in that transitional phase.
Right. But that's also how you feel safe. You remember you just said, like, I didn't know, what if I don't call her in time? But your hormones let you know everything in the beginning stages of what's kind of going on with your body. And then when we talk about those stages and you're actually going through it, you're like, oh, okay. So now I see spotting. So now my cervix is like remodeling. Okay. Where do I feel my discomfort? I feel it in the back. Okay, it's still kind of early. I feel it in the front. Okay, maybe I need to call her. So we give you like all of these kind of cues, but also it's about support too. So if you don't have good support system around you with this natural process, or people that are really, really negative, you might not do as well. You can still do it.
No,
it might
agree
be
with that. That's a
for
struggle,
you.
because even with me, I wasn't sure. I wasn't sure that I was in labor. I was very hesitant, and I did see the spike. I was very restless, and I was just like, I don't know for sure. And so, but when I had that conversation with my husband,
I was just gonna say,
he was like, you need to call. What if I didn't have him in them appointments and he wasn't aware, and he was like, because at the beginning I know he was against it. So it was one of those things where he wasn't on board. That would have made that harder.
Yeah.
And so with him convincing me, like, yeah, you need to call her, made me feel more comfortable with calling you too.
Right.
It was 11 o'clock at night. And so I was like, okay, I don't want to wake her. And it was like, no, she's on call. This is what she does.
This is what we do. It's
and
funny.
So, and even with that being said, but it's one of those things, I'm like, I don't want nobody to wake me up.
They can come when they want to. We did a sweep too, right?
Yeah, we did a sweep. And so, and y'all can, I'll put the definition up of what a membrane sweep is, because I got a lot of questions about that. And also about what made me do it instead of letting the baby come natural. That was my preference.
Right.
Like, y'all can't tell me what to do.
Good.
That's my preference. I was very clear, even on the video. I was like, I asked you to break my water, because a midwife doesn't typically do vaginal checks. And so that's something that I request, because that's what I was conditioned to. I think that played a huge factor into it too. I was conditioned to having frequent vaginal checks from when I did all my hospital births. So that made me comfortable. So again, that was my preference. So it's not something that would be typical unless you prefer it.
And we do vaginal exams. We don't do them as frequently as if you go to the hospital, and different things like that. We only do them like initially, and if we feel like labor has stalled in some kind of way. And when we do it, it's to tell us stuff, like not just how many centimeters you are, but like what way is the baby's head kind of like turning during a contraction, also with Leopold's maneuver. And so that'll let us know, like we're looking for like your pelvis, like how, you know, do we have enough room, different things like that.
Why don't you guys monitor baby and mom like how the hospital do? Yeah, it was a sense of security of having, you know, that monitor connected. It get out your booty.
We love that.
Going into like the hospital, they connect the monitors on mom and baby.
Yes.
And so I know from you educating me, and just I guess because my background too in, you know, healthcare, that when you're in labor, your baby is gonna have up and down heart rates and oxygen levels, same as mom, because we're preparing for birth.
Right. Which is another thing. In our folder, we give you a glossary.
Oh yeah, you gave us a whole glossary, and that's another thing. I was like, I felt like I was in school, but it was more of fun. So I was like, okay, this is things that I need to know. And so with that being said, with certain things happening with your body, that is normal for your heart rate to change. You know, in the hospital, of course, they're looking for, but a lot of parents get scared because they be like, oh, my baby heart rate is dropping. And then the OBs don't communicate that with us as mothers. Like, okay, this is normal. Your baby's heart rate. And so you don't necessarily need it, especially if you're a low risk mom. So it's like, so how do you keep track of, or is it even a factor of keeping track of heart rates?
Yes, definitely. So safety is a big thing. So we don't do anything that is not safe. Even if it doesn't feel right to us, we pull out if we don't feel like it's safe. But we check the baby's heartbeat when you come in, and we listen a little bit longer than we normally would, like in the office or anything like that. Usually that, I don't know if you remember, but I listen for like 5-10 minutes, and that just allows for me to know, like, what is she doing throughout your contraction, before, during, after. Let's listen to a few more, that type of thing. We look at different components like variability, like does it go up and down, or is it just staying the same like number? So it's a lot of different things that we kind of look at when we're listening. We don't have to physically look at a sheet of paper. By me being a nurse for a long period of time, I can come into a room and not ever look at the paper, and I can tell you what the baby's heartbeat is. It's just about like your experience. But when you are in early labor, we listen like every 30 minutes. Once you hit active labor, then we listen every 15 minutes, and then when you get close to transition and pushing, then it's every 5 minutes. Now, as the baby starts to come down the birth canal, which is what she's talking about, like the heart rate kind of dropping, then you can have what we call head compression. As the head starts to compress, then the baby's heart rate will go down at the exact same time of a contraction. It literally will mirror it if you would look on like the strip, the monitoring strip. But we know all of these things. We listen for a long period of time to make sure that the contraction we're touching. So everything about a midwife is all about feel, touch, what, you know, just your emotions, different things like that. And so when you are having those contractions, we put our hands on the belly to figure out like, when did it leave? How strong is it? We're palpating. And so we want to know if it's like mild, if it's moderate, if it's strong, that type of thing in relation to the heart rate.
We're in a transitional phase where it's like a very distinct type of noise that the moms made, and it was all very similar.
It's so, like a growl.
Yeah, I can't even recreate the sound that I made, but I remember making that same sound. Of course, with Nova being the more recent one before Navy, I remember making that sound with her, and it scared my husband with her. But this time, it made him emotional.
Oh, he cried.
He cried, so and I was like, it shocked me. But I think it was more so of you preparing us to expect what to expect with the transition. Baby came out. You told us that I was bleeding, and what medication did you administrate?
I believe I gave you Pitocin. We have a lot of different medicines that we go up like a chain of command on. It depends on like the midwife, which one that they prefer to start with first. For me, I like to start with Pitocin first, and then I move up to like misoprostol. But we have different things. So we have Pitocin, misoprostol, we have TXA, we have Metrogen. I think that's it. And then also we think about hemorrhages like bleeding excessively, right? And like in our mind, it's like, oh my God, it's so much blood. But yours really wasn't.
Yeah, I felt like my baby was clean. I looked back at the video and saw you clean her off out, because I was like, but
she didn't come out dirty.
But she didn't have all
Get the
that
little stuff off of
pasty,
her face.
that white stuff. I'm like, that be looking like chalk. She had that.
Well, we want to actually keep that on her. We don't usually like kind of scrub to take that
Yeah, but
off.
she didn't have a lot.
Yeah, she didn't. You see that a lot with earlier babies, though. Not with usually later term babies.
Gotcha.
But she didn't have a whole lot. That is to protect her skin and help like with her temperature regulation and stuff like that. So we like to keep that on her, and it just absorbs into her skin.
I stalled on getting her umbilical cord cut. That was the first time I ever seen the cord turn completely white immediately at hospital births. They go in with the suction, being all aggressive with the baby, sucking it out of their nose, and hurry up and cut the umbilical cord. And I was like, that caused trauma too. Yeah, I don't know if I want to do this.
Yeah.
Before I let you go, this is what I wanted to talk to you about. Like, after we had the baby, it was still the same thing. We did a newborn screening. It was the same process. Like, we still had to do like our application for birth certificates, social security card. Usually in hospital, they do like I guess it's 48 hours you have to stay.
24 to 48.
So how long do y'all stay at the house?
Oh, after you have the baby?
After we even had the baby here. So how long do you monitor mom and baby before leaving us?
About 3 hours.
Okay, so about 3 hours. And that just really gives a take, because I think even in our appointment, you said it can be up to 6 hours,
Up to 6.
depending on, what's going on. I was so happy that I was able to take a shower.
Oh, yeah.
Like, I don't think I ever took a shower after birth. And I felt like if I did, it was more so when I got home.
Oh, yeah.
Versus in the hospital. Because I feel like the reason why they want to do 24 to 48 hour monitoring, because we're not their only patient. So they have not only me and my baby, they have maybe 10 other women. Technically, that you don't have to be monitored that long.
Right, you don't. And again, this is all low risk. You
Right.
know? So these are people that don't have to be monitored like that, but also knowing that we are still in direct contact. So for me, even before, depending upon what time you birth, before I go to bed, I'm always going to text you. I'm going to call just to make sure that you're still good, that you have no, issues. What I have saw in the past is that some people will like, oh, I didn't want to call you, but when I call them, they're at the hospital. And it's like,
yes.
what happened? And it's only because they got scared. Nothing is actually wrong, but it's because you got scared. And just knowing that you were still in immediate contact. So even if, something happened where you felt like, oh, my baby spit up, and so I thought, I needed to go to the hospital. That's just something that you will call and let us kind of, go over it with you. But no, you don't have to be monitored for that long of a period of time if you don't have any other issue. And we give you a whole list of like safety.
Yes, I was just about to say that.
Instructions, discharge instructions, so that you know, and your partner. We don't say it to you by yourselves either. And so we want to make sure that your partner is in the room or whoever is going to be with you at the time. And also, you can't be left alone for 24 hours.
I was just about to say with the fall risk and all of those
Right.
things, because that's something you did communicate. It's like, okay, if you get up and have to go to the restroom, you need to make sure someone is with you the entire time.
Right.
And
Every single time.
Every single time. And that's why I was like, it felt so, I'm not gonna lie, it felt so good to have my baby take a shower in my own shower, in my own bed, so I didn't have to put any of those little protective footies on. And I just felt like it was so much more intimate, and I was so much at peace.
You feel good after that.
So it's almost nap time. So we want to thank Kamitra for coming, our super midwife, because even if Kamitra wasn't in, I was able to meet with other staff. And like, since the team, like I said, was so small and intimate, I felt more comfortable of any one of them delivering the baby at any given moment. So I would do a home birth again and again if me and my husband wanted more kids. So I would definitely do it again if that was in our future. And I don't regret anything about it. And I'm so happy you were able to come and chit chat with us
Thank
today.
you. I really enjoyed it. I'm not a camera person, but I will try.
She did good, y'all. And so, minus the minor hiccups with the girls intervening, I loved everything about our conversation, and I was able to share this with them, and you were able to share this with them, and you did amazing. You went shining out.
Thank you.
So y'all make sure y'all comment, like, and subscribe, and leave any questions down below. And what I'll do is either I can answer these questions in the comments,